Hi guys, I'm Amira from aselfguru.com. So I'm very excited to have Margaret with me here today. She's from Canada. She's purchased quite a few legal templates from me. But this interview is very special because we're going to have like a back and forth conversation about her experience with my templates as well as some of the important questions that come up in her business that I would love to answer. So hi Margaret, how are you doing?
I'm good. Very nice to have you chatting with you today, Amira.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. Tell us like about yourself a little bit.
Well, I actually have a background in PR and marketing, and for many years I was working in agencies for over 18 years. And I worked here in Canada in large and small agencies. And my little thing that I always was doing was blogging. It was my creative outlet. I started out with suburbantourist.ca. It was an outdoor and travel blog, and then it became a lifestyle blog. And then I realized after I'd given birth to my son and I kind of wrapped up my PR and marketing career in agencies, I kind of started thinking, well, what am I going to do with all of this knowledge that I have? And I started talking about blogging a lot on my Suburban Tourist blog. And just recently, I decided I'd have to kind of break up Suburban Tourist with the blogging stuff. So I've left Suburban Tourist as my lifestyle blog, and now I've started margaretbourne.com, which is my blog coaching business.
Margaret, tell us, how did you hear about me?
So I have been poking around on a lot of sites, trying to find privacy and disclaimer in terms and conditions templates. And I knew that at one point, if I was really becoming serious about pushing my Suburban Tourist blog into a money-making kind of site, I needed to have the right information, the right legal documents on my site. And I was contemplating, do I, go the route of, speaking with a lawyer? Is there anything in, Canadian documents out there that I could, potentially purchase or use? And then I noticed that everybody was talking about Amira and how she had these fantastic templates. So I started researching. I went on your site and I read a lot of testimonials from a lot of Canadian bloggers, some of them that I had actually worked with in past lives, and I was very familiar with them. So I knew and trusted them, and they were giving you lots of kudos. So I just said, okay, enough is enough. I have to get her templates. And that's how I found your legal bundle. And it was probably the best investment that I could possibly make in my site. It's the best way for me to protect my site and myself legally and financially. And I know that once I started doing things like affiliate marketing and slowly getting into blog coaching, that was something I definitely needed on my site to be able to protect myself and my site.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that you were able to connect with other Canadians that have purchased from me and you knew that. That's even more amazing. What legal templates did you end up purchasing?
So it was the legal bundle. I got your coaching agreement, which I'm now using, and also the copyright and disclaimer. So that's going to be hopefully used in the future more and more. But right now, it's the legal bundle and the coaching agreement are the two main ones that I'm using the most, and they've been put to good use. That's for sure.
Oh, awesome. So the legal bundle, you mean like the one with the privacy policy, disclaimer, terms and conditions?
That's right.
Okay, and then the coaching agreement, and then you got the ebook template, the copyright page, and
that's right
template. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. So yeah, no, that's exciting. So you're going to be launching probably your book soon.
Hopefully it's a slow process. I'm constantly editing myself, and so I think a lot of first-time book writers always have that problem when they're trying to figure out, have I gotten everything in that book that I need to have? Still definitely needs to have that disclaimer and that copyright information, because as we know, theft of intellectual property is quite high. So it's always good to have stated in front and make sure that people know that there's a potential that somebody might want to lift and copy it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you have to give that notice, because I see that theft is such a big problem these days. It's crazy, but unfortunately, yes, you have to have these legal terms and documents in place to cover yourself. Now, talking about, you talked briefly about like how you found me and what legal templates you purchased from me, but let's talk about like why did you decide to purchase from me versus any other lawyer?
Well, first of all, the testimonials about your templates were really, really favorable. You've definitely done a good job also sharing that information on your site, and people are talking about you. I'll go into a Facebook group, and everybody says you have to get Amira's templates, and so you have a very good reputation. The second part was that I really needed to have something that was easy to do and it was customizable, and I didn't have to go to a lawyer and spend thousands of dollars on having these created. Now, my lawyer is a nice guy. I love working with him when I need to, but it's not his specialty. He's not a blogger. He would probably be scratching his head trying to figure things out, and he'll probably spend more time on it. And you already had this great product already created with the blogger in mind. And so for me, I was like, it's a win. She understands the blogger. She is a blogger, and you've put your legal knowledge together. And so for me, that was a really great opportunity to be able to do something quickly, easily, and just implement it. It literally took me half an hour. So for all three documents, I'm a fast typer. So yeah, for me, that was a win too, because it wasn't as time consuming as something, for example, trying to hammer something out from scratch would be.
Oh, absolutely. And so talking about something from scratch, some people just think that they can just go on Google and grab a free legal template. So you're very smart that you didn't do that, but tell us like your reasons for not trusting them.
Well, because first of all, I don't know who wrote it. It's obvious that you are a lawyer. You have a reputation in that. And so for me, that adds a lot more assurance that this is a correct document. And then secondly, I don't know all the legal jargon. I don't know all the legal details. So I don't know if something's missing from something that I find on the site. You already have laid it out and said, okay, if you're in Canada, you need this. If you need this and this and this for this and this reason, this doesn't need to be in here if you're not, so you've provided that in the templates. So I know exactly what I need to have in each of those documents, without having to worry. Like if I find something on the, if I Google and find something on the net, I don't know for sure if it's exactly what I really need or if it's something is missing. So I had that assurance that I had everything that I needed in those documents, and I didn't have to second guess myself. And I think that's the most important thing is when somebody's purchasing from you, they know that they're getting the real deal with those documents.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So, Margaret, would you agree that the templates are like easy, fast, and affordable?
Absolutely. I think that's what I've been kind of saying all along. I think it's, the affordability factor for sure. That is fantastic. The fact that they're really super easy to customize. That you've highlighted everything that needs to be changed or modified, which makes it much easier to scan through the document and say, okay, this is what I need to take care of. And customized to my own site. And, they're very thorough. So I absolutely love working with them. And every time I need something, I go to you first to see if you've got what I need.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for doing that. Would you like to share anything else that would be helpful for people that are watching us and that are interested in these templates but might be on the fence?
Well, I really say one thing. If you're really considering your blog or your site as a true professional business, and if you have the mindset that you want to do things the right way, then you should be doing things the right way. And the right way is making sure you're covering your behind legally and financially with your site and yourself. And you can't just fudge that. It's an investment that's, over time, you're going to return it actually fairly quickly. You're going to get a good return on your investment of making those purchases and making those additions to your site with the legal bundle and with any of your legal documents that you provide. So I think it's very important to do that. And a lot of bloggers are on the fence. They think, well, maybe I could just fudge it. You can't. Down the line, there's going to be somebody that's going to come along and screw you over, and you don't want to be screwed over. It's not a pleasant thing when you get sued or when you are, dealing with a lot of stress where somebody is trying to do something legally against you, or you don't want that, and it's extra stress you don't need. So let's do things the right way and start things off with your blogging business the right way. And even one thing I always keep telling any of my students, I say, do you have your legal pages? And make sure that is up there and that's correct, because down the line you might get screwed over, and I don't want to see that to happen then, right? So that's why I always kind of give that piece of advice and say, check that, make sure you have the right ones, and do you have, see what you're missing, and then get Amira's legal bundle if you need it.
So Margaret, do you want to continue asking me the questions?
I have definitely some questions for you, Amira. And it really came from my sort of my journey into the blog coaching world, and I was looking at what do I need to have in terms of blog coaching, the legal aspects of it. And because I had worked with so many clients in my previous life in agencies, I knew that, anytime that there was any kind of scope of work, any kind of money being exchanged between a client and the agency, that you needed to have some sort of agreement in place. And so I was always handling sort of creating the plans, the scope of work, the budgets, and there was always a spot for sign off. In majority of the times with clients and agencies, you have a master agreement. But in this case, it's different. It's, in some cases, blog coaching could be just, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, but you need something in place to be able to confirm with the client that this is what I'm offering you, and that's what this is what you're paying me for it, and what your responsibilities are and my responsibilities. So when I got the coaching agreement, I was thinking, I need to tell people really what they need to be doing when it comes to proper business, to be able to manage their own, coaching businesses. And I'm getting lots of business from others who want to become coaches. So now I've got some questions for you, because I really feel that I need to hear it more from somebody who's a lawyer. And really, what are your top legal tips for anybody who's planning to start a coaching service or their blog? What do they really need to have in place to be doing this properly?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So first thing is that you asked about legal tips, so I'm going to give you the complete answer. The first thing is, if you have a website or a blog, you're going to need the 3 essential legal pages on your site, which you got already, Margaret, but it's the privacy policy, disclaimer, terms and conditions, and all 3 pages are important for different reasons. The privacy policy is legally required by law, so it's not an optional document. You need to have that in the footer section or whatever you put on your website, but typically the footer section of your site. And then you have a disclaimer to kind of limit your legal liability for the content that you're publishing and sharing with your audience, because you don't want someone to rely on your content and come after you legally or sue you. So that's where the disclaimer comes in. Then you need to also have terms and conditions. These are your website terms and conditions, but also if you purchase one of my templates, the beautiful thing is that my terms and conditions saves you more time and money, because it also covers for any products and services that you offer. So we talked about coaching and things like that. But or any products tomorrow you sell, like an ebook or a course, you can use the same template for your website rules and regulations, as well as to protect you for your products that you sell from your website. Mm-hmm. And then, because you're providing actual coaching services, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching, you should always have an agreement in place. In this case, a coaching agreement. So that's the other thing that you would also need to kind of outline your relationship with your client and avoid any kind of ugly legal issues,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's so important. And so why is that blog coaching agreement so important? Are there any instances that you know of that, people who haven't had one have been really affected by not having one?
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of my clients, Sarah, she didn't bother having an agreement in place. So she offered a month-long coaching, 4 sessions. And then the client, she actually made some recommendations, and without going into the details to maintain the confidentiality here, but she offered some recommendations, and her client ended up suffering a negative, result because of that. And then the client asked for a $2,000 refund. On top of that, claiming more money for the hospital bills and things like that the client ended up having to, incur because of the advice that my client Sarah had given as a coach.
Oh God.
So she got panicked and she got really scared, and so she came to us, and then we ended up settling the case instead of having it get into a full blown litigation. But still, she ended up losing $2,000 plus the lawyer fees, right? Because now if she's hiring a lawyer, she has to pay lawyer fees too. So it cost her thousands and thousands of dollars that could have been honestly easily avoided with just a coaching agreement.
A fraction of the cost.
Exactly, a fraction, a few $100, right? So so that's just one example of why it's so important, because you just don't know. I mean, you're doing your best as a coach. You're doing your due diligence. Making your best efforts to give quality, like coaching and all kinds of things and tips. And part of that coaching also comes with like sharing your recommendations, your advice, your tips. So you just want to be always careful about like how the other person is taking all of that information, right? So That's why a coaching agreement has a coaching disclaimer in place. It has limitation of legal liability language built in. It has client responsibilities language built in. It has a coach's responsibility language, especially if you get my template, which Margaret, is quite comprehensive. It makes you think about things that you don't even think about. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And I would say that anybody who gets any of your agreements, read through them, and you just realize how much that you need to protect yourself against certain things. And, it is sometimes people shy away from legal jargon, but you have to kind of understand what you're being protected against, and also, what's the lay of the land when, the relationship between you and your client, and what's doable and what's not doable. So I think it's always important to read them. So I guess an email agreement is really not the best way to do any kind of business, right?
Absolutely, yes. Because, as we just kind of briefly talked about, like why a coaching agreement is so important. Now, email just doesn't prove anything. You know what I mean? It's, yes, it's in writing, but it's not really going to protect you or the client, and it's questionable whether you can even enforce it. So it's not, with the actual agreement in place and outlining everything that, you're providing, your cancellation policies, your termination policy, your refund policy, things like that. That's why a contract is really essential to cover all of those bases, which you honestly can't do everything in an email. So email is just like a simple exchange. Like, oh, here, yes, I want to retain your coaching services. Here's the fee, but does that really protect you? Ask yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's no signature of approval on that, right? They can email saying fine, but you still need that signature of approval, right? So that's very, yeah. So what do you think is the best way to explain to a potential client about the block coaching agreement, or any kind of agreement you have to send them? When they see it, I would imagine that some clients are like, I haven't had that experience yet, because all of my clients up to now have been pretty understanding, and they kind of seem to love the fact that I'm doing things in a professional way with the coaching agreement. But what happens when you get a client that's like, I don't know about all this. Why am I signing away this thing here?
Yeah, unfortunately, just like you, I haven't had that experience either, because I use contracts day in, day out in my business when I hire people, when I coach people. So I use multiple different contracts. Even before we got into this video, I had to briefly look at my media release agreement to allow me, the right. So my point is, I use contracts all the time, and nobody's ever, but maybe because I'm a lawyer, but that's a good question about, there might be a client here and there that will probably get intimidated by a contract. But I think you just have to professionally explain it to them, the significance of it, like that why a contract is not something that's just only protecting you as a coach. It's protecting the client as well. Yeah. And I think that's the key that you have to explain to the client, that why it is a good thing for both parties, right? Because if the client knows exactly what's expected from the coaching, they're benefiting. They know upfront that, okay, these are the rules. This is exactly what we agree upon. And then it also opens up doors for negotiation. Like if there's something they don't like, then they can tell you upfront based on the agreement, right?
Exactly.
Versus later on, if you don't have an agreement, then you both are silent, and tomorrow that opens up more room for issues and disputes and misunderstandings. So I think if you just explain it to the client in those lay terms, that hey, why it's so important, that it's not just protecting me, but it's protecting our relationship, and that this is going to solidify our relationship and allow both of us to benefit and avoid any kinds of issues or misunderstandings and things like that. And then, if the client still doesn't get it, then I would say that maybe that's not the right client for you, because
exactly.
So you just have to make that judgment call based on, your own experience.
Yeah. And so I would also probably add that never take on a client that doesn't want to sign that agreement, because at some point it's going to bite you in the behind in one way or another. Because if a client is already nitpicking about the agreement, what will they nitpick about afterwards when you start doing actual work with them? So it sometimes is a foreshadower of more problems to come.
Exactly. I completely agree with that, because tomorrow, if this client is already giving you a hard time on this, then they're just going to really give you a hard time on your coaching and services too, right?
So Amira, you've been coaching as well, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So what is the greatest joy in coaching for you? What do you find the most fulfilling in terms of coaching? Like what makes you happy about it?
Great question. So I look at coaching as taking someone from point A to point B. So for me, the greatest joy comes from the results, right? When I see the people that I've coached, whether it's in the blogging sphere or even in the legal realm, right? Like helping people answer their business questions, blogging questions, legal questions. People usually always come to me with a problem, right? That's why we go to a coach. Because we are looking to go from A to, B or Z or whatever. We're trying to go from one place to the other, and there's always a vision that they have. And so when they come to me and I'm able to turn that vision into reality, to me, that's very fulfilling. So, and it's very rewarding. So our coaching sessions are very, very productive. If you haven't noticed, I'm very much like a straight shooter. So I get straight to the business, and we make sure that conversation at that time that we have together is meaningful, it's helpful. So for me, the results, then what my clients achieve, or what, the love notes that they send me, and you can see on my Facebook page and my website, to me, that is honestly the best testament and compliment that I could get, so that to me brings great joy to see that transformation.
Yeah, I think I'm very much the same way as you. Like I'm starting to see that my clients are coming to me and providing, saying, you're giving me peace of mind, or you're making things clear for me, because they get so muddled and starting up blogs and trying to grow them or change them into something that's better. And they sometimes don't know where to start. And I'm kind of providing them with the big picture, but also sometimes the little nitty gritty answers that they need, the small answers, the details, and providing clarity and being able to get them the results, I think, is the biggest satisfactory aspect of being a blog coach. And it's wonderful that we're able to do that. And thank you again for helping us blog coaches out there do things the right way. So I really appreciate it. And I really thank you so much for the time today. I think, we answered a lot of questions. And for anybody who's been considering coaching, it's not necessarily blog coaching. It could be any kind of coaching. And that's what's really great about your coaching agreement. It could be customized to any business. I think it's fantastic to be able to have that in place, that you can just modify it, customize it, make it work for whatever situation that you're in. And, it's that foundation of a good coaching relationship with clients. So thank you again for creating that and sharing it out with us, and providing an opportunity for people to purchase it and coach away.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. It was great chatting with you, Margaret.
Thank you so much.